everybody. Good day. Usually you would say happy something day, but I don't really know if that's appropriate to say happy suicide prevention day. So welcome. Welcome everyone. I'm sure people will start to trickle in as I go on. I know people don't always catch the first 5 minutes or so, just because I know Facebook Live is doing their thing. So welcome to my new apartment. I feel like people who have been tuning in to my live streams now for about a year since I moved to Barbados have seen a few of my apartments. I guess it's the life of a student. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Suicide Prevention Day. So many of you know that a lot of my work and a lot of my advocacy, research, and so on is around mental health and suicide. For those who are joining in who don't really know this, this is why I'm here in Barbados. People have asked me before, how did I end up in this field? And I basically got really lucky. I was recommended to be in the Global Shapers Georgetown Hub. I applied, I got in, and there I was a part of many projects, and while there I put forth the Mental Health Yourself project. During that period I got to know really great people like Natalie, who just joined in, other mental health practitioners, people who care about this field. And I was literally just sitting at my desk one day at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I was like, I care more about my non-paid mental health work than my paid job. And I was like, well, so what do I do about it? And so I started looking up, and I found this master's in counseling psychology. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a counselor, because many of you would know my opinion still remains that in Guyana we have a human resource problem, not just in mental health, but in all health factors, all the health areas, education, social services. And the thing is, it's sad, the thing that needs the most funding and needs the most people and needs the most compassion and patience and skills are usually the ones that are underfunded, neglected, whether by the population or the government. And so my intention was to come here and to try and add to the human resources issue that we had in Guyana, just because currently in Guyana there's probably only 3 or 4 functioning psychiatrists, 3 of which are in town, and 1 that has remained in Berbice for about 20 odd years, and so at the psychiatric unit there. And then, of course, again, limited persons in the field. I will not go into the other practitioners just because I'm pretty sure people know my opinion on that. And that's not what today is about. So basically, that was just how we got here. And so what I've been doing is my program. I've written numerous papers for classes. On one of my first papers was on rape trauma syndrome. I posted all my papers on LinkedIn. So if you have LinkedIn or you don't have LinkedIn, I would suggest you get it. And so you can find me on Rise Can on LinkedIn. I have my papers on rape trauma syndrome there. I have written papers on the long-term impacts of emotional abuse. I have written a group project on mental health perceptions in Barbados, looking at how people perceive mental health and mental health services in Barbados, and also how people view things like stigma and services. Do they reach out? Do they go to religious, etc.? So all that information is on LinkedIn. And then I have written a paper on suicide bereavement, and this one was the one I did this year. All of my papers that I've done are things that I truly believe in, truly believe that more research needs to be had, truly believe that it will be directly correlated to Guyana. I do papers that I think of, when I think of them, I think of how is this going to help me when I get back home. Dead. That's just exactly what I do. That's exactly when I'm writing my papers. It's how is my research going to help train people? How is it going to help educate people? How is it going to help bring awareness to this topic? So because the rape situation is so bad in Guyana, whether it be incestful or marital rape or just sexual abuse and sexual assault that you see on a regular basis, that was why I wanted to do rape trauma syndrome first. And so as a result, I've done these papers. So my paper on suicide that I did this year was looking at what it is to be not the victims of a suicide. I did have a tiny part in there when you attempt to commit suicide and you don't die. What does that mean for yourself? But my paper was really about what happens to the persons who are left behind. So if someone commits suicide, they say if someone commits suicide, 6 people, at least, there are theorists who believe there's up to 24 people are impacted by this person's suicide. And so that's why the concept of the copycatting, which I hate that term. I don't want to think that people are mindlessly killing themselves because it's a trend. And I've said this on national television, Guyana. I don't want to believe that it's a trend. I want to believe that people who are committing suicide have serious mental health related issues, or they see it as a way out because it's been accepted as common. Hi, Rayon. And so accepted as being a part of a normative thing, a way of coping. And so I think the kind of different branches of looking at suicide is people have mental health issues, they have an unstable home environment, community, and it's become a norm. So I looked at in the paper that yes, at least 6 people in your circle are affected. This does not include things like your church, the community, where you worked, and because of the level of impact on suicide, then you then have this ripple effect of people wanting to commit suicide themselves, not because it's a way of them coping, but the other side of the coin is that they sometimes feel guilty. So because they didn't say something, they didn't reach out. And that is the theme of this year's Suicide Prevention Day, which is take a minute, change a life. I think it's not just change a life, but it's also it's actually saving a life. And I posted out the website to where the theme is coming from, the International Association of Suicide Prevention. And they have, given you tips on what to do on this day and how to approach and why the theme is important this year. And I think that that is a big deal. I understand the global restriction, and specifically restriction in Guyana, which is the human resources, which I always talk about. So my approach to suicide and mental health is, if you can't get to an actual psychologist or an actual therapist, then the bare minimum that we should be doing as a community is reaching out and talking to people and checking in. And not checking in like in a group of people at some rum shop or something, like a space that's not conducive for someone to open up and talk, but stopping by someone's office and knocking and say, hey, do you have a minute? I'm just checking in. And I did this to a friend in class about 2-3 months ago. One of our mutual friends died. And I noticed that they were being unusually distant. It was exam times and everyone was busy and that kind of thing happens. But I had to something wouldn't let me not ask them. And I'm like, are you okay? And I remember we were just outside and I said, are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, you've just been really distant. And just really, you don't, when I try and engage, that kind of thing. And they let me know, no, it's just a lot going on. And they said that they would follow up and talk to me. And so, and we did. It wasn't as soon as I would have hoped, but it happened. And that was my way of just ensuring that I just did that one little thing. And I think we don't think about how important, sorry everybody, I'm sorry with the vibrations going off, but I think we forget how small a gesture can change something. And knowing that you're not alone, and knowing that people are listening and willing to listen to your story. And if you're someone like me who needs to vent, like when I've had a hard week, everybody's gonna know. Everybody's like, I'm gonna be like, I did this, and it's just a lot. And some people don't always know what to say, and that's okay. Like, people will just say, you know, it sounds like you had a hard week, and I'll be like, yes, oh my god, you know. And that bare minimum, just listening to me vent, helps a lot. And so I would like to encourage everyone to take an oath that from this day on and every day on, because suicide prevention is not September 10th, it's not October 10th when it's Mental Health Day, it's every day. And every day, as a budding psychologist and currently a residence assistant in Frank Worrell Hall at University of the West Indies in Cave Hill, I am constantly checking in on my students. I am constantly dedicated to my students. I have Nalini is here. She knew me as a Dawn, which is an RA in Toronto at York University in Pond residence. She could tell you how dedicated I was to my residents, and that's just how I am. And so I try to take the time, even if I'm having a hard day, I need to go and check in on my residents, because there's 180 of them here, and I need to ensure that no one is slipping through the crack on my watch, because I am an experienced RA, and I would not like to believe that I haven't created a culture and an environment and an aura that my residents know that they can come to me. And I think I already have, because people have come to me for stuff, and I've been living here for like 3 weeks. And so for me, it's all about creating an environment for people to approach you, for people to open up to you. And yes, it can be really stressful and really daunting to think that, oh my god, people are going to come to me. And if you want to take this in the direction of being in a profession, then you need training. I don't encourage people to go and tell people or be a therapist without training. Like, you just can't. Your undergrad in psychology will not provide you with what you need as a psychologist. I have my undergrad honors degree in psychology. They do not talk about ethics in psychology undergrad. They do not talk about therapy. They do not give you any tips, no hints. I did a counseling psychology course, and that was my first in my last year, my last school year, my 4th year at York University. That's when I finally got to do a course that I really wanted, other than educational psychology and maybe history of psychology. But like, you cannot be a therapist with an undergrad in psychology. It's not ethical, it's not professional, it's not right. And so, because you're just not qualified. And so, by all means, be a support for someone, but you're not their therapist. And if you find that you cannot help that person anymore, you need to refer them to someone who actually can. And so, yes, today is all about checking in on people and starting to take an oath to be more open and being able to help people. But don't think that you're gonna save someone by being their therapist if you're not trained. They need help, whether it's community help, maybe someone is checking in, maybe one person could be the person they talk to, maybe another person could be someone who helps with the kids, maybe someone in the community is someone that takes some food for them on a day when they're not doing really great. Checking in and knowing the status of the people in your community and your family is a part of being a unit, a unified front. And the only way that we can get past the situation in Guyana with suicide and mental health is by being a unified front. Yes, it's going to take a little while for more people to get up to the times with like human resources and training and actual therapists and stuff like that. And I encourage so many Guyanese, come to UE, do this master's, be a part of the group of people that are going to be heading up therapy in Guyana. And I look forward to being a part of the journey. I am currently a part of the journey for myself and in the professional world. And so I encourage everyone to, on this day, take an oath to check in on people. Check in on your parents. You don't know, with a lot of people, with age comes a lot of mental health stuff as well. Things like dementia, things like when they have to retire, their concept of worth, their concept of living changes. And that's a lot of things that we don't think about. As we age as adults, our parents age as well, and those come with their own challenges. So be there for the people in your life, and remember that taking that minute can change someone's life. You have no clue what is going on in people's heads. People can be smiling and great and say that they're functioning, but they're really not doing so well. And the best thing that you could do for people is try to be there and try to be willing to help in any way that you can. And sometimes that means just offering a drop, offering to take their kids to school, offering to, help out, babysitting, anything to give people a chance to self-care and take a break. These things are really important for people's mental health and for suicide in the long run. I just wanted to say, I'm just going to spend about maybe 5 or 10 more minutes trying not to make my videos long. It's very hard. The longer my videos are, the less likely people are to share them, I assume, or to watch them, or they'll watch like half and be like, okay, right, so we get it. So I just wanted to point out, I was looking at what globally people are doing for today, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get a program done for today in residence, but I will be doing my candlelight, and I will try and light some more candles down the way here so residents can check in and be like, hey, like, what are you doing, and start that conversation. So that's what I intend to do. I saw that Guyana has a concert today at the bandstands from 4 to 7. Now, I am not one for, like, when it comes to things like suicide, I'm not one for walks and concerts, because I feel like that money can be spent better. But the International Association of Suicide Prevention has on their website some suggestions, and one of those suggestions was training workshops. And I beg of Guyana to take this on seriously, like the Guyana Times, and I am so proud of whoever, and me and Guyana Times have a very good relationship. I always big them up because now you can't hear me. Oh my god, I hope people can hear me. Shoot. Okay, so the Guyana Times, they wrote an article. I don't know who wrote it, but it's the realest thing. Like, they were talking about how, like, Guyana needs to stop talking and walk the walk. And I completely agree. I've been hearing about meetings and this and that for so long, and it's like, no, we need to do actual training. I have said to PAHO numerous times, they need to get the government to put aside a fund for this program and have people come and apply to do their masters here at UE and apply and go to other schools, accredited schools in therapy, and go to Mona and do clinical psychology. There needs to be more action towards this. It cannot just be, let's walk for suicide, let's walk for domestic violence, let's walk for this. It's like, no, are you like tunneling money into these functions, into these events? How about instead of you walking for suicide or doing a concert for suicide, get people to donate to an actual fund? So when you have a concert, the earnings from that and the donations from sponsors go towards an actual fund that is going to fund university students to come to Mona, to come to Cave Hill, to go to Mona and do psychology. And so you start pumping out people who are going to be a part of the journey and not just there walking. We need more skilled people in Guyana. We need more social workers who are actual, like, psychiatric social workers, and not psychiatric social workers because they've worked in a psychiatric hospital, but people who've actually been trained and, like, theoretically trained. And I know Cody, everyone, he is my co-RA, he's literally next door, and he could tell you the medical field. And the PAHO, the World Health Organization, did a report on Guyana, and they said that there's only 20 hours of mental health work that doctors are trained in Guyana. Can you imagine 20 hours? I just did 20 hours in 2 days at my internship. Like, it was nothing. That's 2 days. It's like nothing in terms of training. And so we need to get a more holistic approach on how we're looking at medical people being aware of mental health stuff, mental health people being aware of when something's a medical concern and a mental health concern, and being able to connect the dots. We're not going to do this as a one-man show. That's not what it is. You have to be able to have social workers who are trained appropriately, caseworkers who are trained appropriately, community members who have gatekeeping skills. In the Guyana Times article here, they talk about the gatekeepers. I've been talking about the gatekeepers for like 3 years now. Dr. Leslie Ramsamy talked about the gatekeepers since like 6-7 years now. It dissolved, and now we're trying to bring it back, and I encourage the government again and the Minister of Health, whoever it is now that changed, do what's right. Do what's right. I think it's Volda. Do what's right and start making actual tangible movements towards this cause, and not just having calls and meetings and talk shops. And a lot of the NGOs are getting fed up, and the article even here calls out the government for just putting the responsibility on the NGOs. And it's not fair, because I've been one of those NGOs, and I think that when I did Mental Health Yourself, and anyone who was along the process with Global Shapers during our project with Mental Health Yourself, knows where $400,000 can go. Blingo, which was organized by Sarah Lise Ming and a lot of the other shapers, we got $1 million Guyana, and we only spent like 500,000, and I did 3 major workshops along Region 2. It was supposed to be 6, but then Ministry of Health kind of delayed us, and it went too close to exams, so we had to reshuffle. But anyway, the whole point is, I spent $400,000. I fed volunteers, I fed participants, we stayed overnight, there was transportation all the way to Region 2, and there were people who wanted us to come and train at NOC, train at other NGOs. And so when you tell me that you have $20 million for 2016 and there hasn't been any major fund or movement towards that, what's happening? And so my claim, this whole little background, is about stop the talking on the government side, continue talking to the communities, but do more, and that's my theme of today. Do more. And if we can't solve the human resource issue right now, we can't solve it in a year, because training takes like a year and a half, 2, because my program is almost 2 years. At least start making the fund, and at least continue to have encouraging people to do small trainings, bring in international people, do 2-week-long workshops, use that $20 million for training, because it makes no sense having a mental health unit that isn't appropriately trained. Yes, you may have 1 or 2 people who are really great, and people like Alicia Rootnarai, my girl, she just did her dissertation. She's great, she's done research, she has an idea, but we need people who are also practical therapists, people who are practical social workers, people who can actually know what are the techniques to dealing with therapy, and not just really crisis therapy in the moment, but getting people in the culture, building this culture of therapy is healthy, therapy should be encouraged, and therapy should be a way of looking at healing with all the social issues that we have in Guyana, not just suicide, but all the domestic violence issues, all the violence issues, all the child-related issues, etc. And so for me, I think I've said enough. I really hope that people could have heard. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I wish you all the best going forth. And remember, suicide prevention is not just September 10th, it is every day. Every day that you step out of your door, you should try to ensure that the people around you are safe, and that they are healthy, and that you are also taking care of yourself, to ensure that you are taking care of yourself and being healthy, and ensuring that your mental health is of the utmost importance, and everyone else is safe. Okay? Good day, good night. Please take an opportunity to light a candle this evening at a window, tag a post, research, put out a TEDx talk, anything that can get the conversation going. I know that a lot of the conversations happen on social media, but go to your community today. Go and talk to people. Say, hey, I listened to this video, and this is what the girl had to say, or I read this article, and this is what the article said. Please, 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 do more. If you can do more, do more. Good day.